It destroys all of the oxygen in the water. It suffocates the marine life. Then it liquefies it, making the waters sterile.
Hail the coming of the destroyer.
We have been developing a prototype for a new weapon. Designed to exterminate all life forms within its mile radius. May God have mercy on us all.
What's up guys, Devon back at it again with yet another Devon Explains entry and talking with every single syllable burning my tongue because I don't know what the fuck is happening. We are gonna go over the power, the hacks, and the greatness of Super Godzilla from the 1993 game of the exact same name. Fuck, does my tongue hurt. Holy shit. Anyways, let's get right into the power scaling because there's really nothing much to go over. You and I, love this Godzilla, and you and I are gonna study, film, and see how powerful he is today. Let's get right into it. Starting off, this game isn't standalone. By no measure is it. This game is based off of the Heisei series up until that very point, including every single event and film of that time. It's a branch of the timeline that expands the world and just does its own thing, but its lore is based on Heisei. We see this even with how they get the information right for the films. Every single guidebook for the game includes Mechagodzilla's diamond coating armor and also mentions events from the films and includes information that is mostly accurate to the movies. And the inaccuracies aren't really inaccuracies, they're just them describing how their versions of the kaiju are different. For example, Biollante is just a new one created by aliens from scratch. King Ghidorah isn't the one that was created through Dorats in 1991, it's just a Ghidorah from space. This is ultimately the same world, but in a sort of what-if scenario where you have different versions of the same kaiju made organically. Also, the Ghidorah from this game is an actual Chad who just pulled up because he wants to kill everything instead of being a fucking Dorat merchant. Anyways, now, this very same meaning that it is just a branch off timeline introduces the idea that this Godzilla has already been through the events of 1993. He's 100% been through the other events, but this game was released within the same year, so you could say that, hey, maybe this Godzilla hasn't gone through the events of the Spiral Ray. And no, he doesn't have the Ray Spiral Ray, but Mechagodzilla is a new one in the game. It is stated to be a new Mechagodzilla, so Godzilla probably defeated his Mechagodzilla in 1993 by himself with no help and annihilated it so much that they needed to make a new one from scratch. This tells us that SNES Godzilla is just kinda stronger than the canon Godzilla in the second round, if not even more. Maybe it's something like the power of the Spiral Ray, given that was what annihilated MG in the canon Heisei timeline. Or you can say that given this game started production in 1990 and across the years needed to catch up on lore, this Godzilla then wouldn't have gone through the events of 1993. At the minimum, this is definitively a timeline of Heisei and thus has the same general scaling, but its characters have different power levels because of different events and lifetimes. Now, the game starts with an alien King Ghidorah attacking, I think it's Osaka. He attacks a city in Japan. Now, this alien King Ghidorah is more powerful than all Earth kaiju. He is particularly glazed even by the standards of the time. He is Godzilla's eternal rival, which implies that this Ghidorah was the one that Godzilla faced in 1991 instead of being the Dorat merchant. And Ghidorah is not just more powerful than all Earth monsters. No. Ghidorah makes MG look weak. This is directly stated, and is so strong that nothing the JDF can throw at him can do anything. Only Godzilla can stop Ghidorah. And even then, Ghidorah is genuinely so powerful that Godzilla has to dodge his attacks, else risk significant injury. Mind you, Godzilla's got that insane durability that lets him tank his atomic breath 10,000 times over. He and Godzilla fight, and Godzilla folds this guy like a fucking launcher. He rips Ghidorah apart so thoroughly that when Ghidorah comes back later, you see that almost his entire body had to be either mechanized or entirely replaced, as we see with his middle head and with his wings. Now, this was still a pretty difficult battle for Godzilla, but ultimately Godzilla did kind of just rip Ghidorah apart. This is the same Ghidorah who makes MG look weak. This is the same Ghidorah who is stronger than all Earth monsters, including Biollante, who's in the atmosphere, and Batra, who's resurrected in this time. Just from this alone, SNES Godzilla is stronger than round 193 Heisei, and if not at the level of round 2 Heisei, then he's even stronger. While both Godzillas beat MG, round 2 did it against an MG who was already weakened. Meanwhile, SNES Godzilla defeats and then brutalizes a Ghidorah who makes MG look fucking fodder. This Godzilla is already stronger than the Godzilla who's stronger than 91 Ghidorah, whose every cell has black holes inside it, with black holes in Toho being conduits for time travel, which, if you don't want to use a black hole, requires breaking out of a universe, traveling to another universe with distinct and different time space, then doing it again to return. We're looking at cosmic level feats casually already. This Godzilla is also stronger than the same Godzilla who fodderizes the reincarnations of Susanoo and Amaterasu, who are stronger than Orochi, the same guy who can one-shot a bird that transcends and travels across dimensions. Bear with me now. With average Toho universes having 4 spatial dimensions, 1 temporal dimensions, and an attached realm beyond space-time, making this bird 6th to 7th dimensional and a victim to Orochi, who is a victim to Mothra and Batra, who are victims to SNES Godzilla. And I'm gonna need you to specifically remember the power scaling of Batra, because he's gonna come along later. All of this universal, dimensional, complex, multiversal power already comes from this guy's first ever feat. And all of this is scaling off beating Mechagodzilla, the strongest Mechagodzilla in history up until that time, which makes him stronger than Machine Godzilla and then Showa Mechagodzilla. Now, speaking of Mechagodzilla, the aliens abduct a new MG and use it to fight Godzilla. Not to stop him by physically fighting him, but instead of that, MG is constantly teleporting around and using speed to overwhelm the king of the monsters. Its diamond armor allows it to completely block and return the atomic breath, which, sounds like this Godzilla's atomic breath is weaker than the round 2 Godzilla who can bypass the diamond armor. Right? Yes, that is true, but this is completely irrelevant because the super atomic breath bypasses the diamond armor and can destroy Mechagodzilla in just a few shots. Godzilla's physical attacks also cause MG damage, and far more than film Godzilla can, because either using your physical attacks or the super atomic breath, you end up vaporizing Mechagodzilla, which, isn't really something that base Godzilla 93 could ever hope to do. And mind you, Mechagodzilla is no slouch in terms of durability. We have Mothra Leo, no matter what form he's in, being unable to destroy Mechagodzilla's armor. Which, mind you, it's not like Mothra Leo is weak. No. Mothra Leo is the strongest Mothra in all of history, being capable of destroying the universe-busting this Ghidorah so thoroughly that the only reason the guy can even so much as do anything is by regenerating extremely fast. Mothra Leo then absorbs the infinite universal energy of Earth, which is actually what gave this Ghidorah the power to destroy a universe, and then completely annihilating Dagara, who can destroy the Earth, which, mind you, the Earth has this universal energy, and then getting even stronger and defeating the universe-destroying Grand King Ghidorah in one single shot. Base first movie, this Ghidorah annihilating Leo is multiple times stronger than Mothra, every Mothra in history, and then he gets thousands to billions of times stronger across the course of his story, and even then, no amount of hacks, no amount of power can let him hurt Mechagodzilla. And here we have our GOAT, Super Godzilla, just annihilating and vaporizing the Mecha. Insane. This Mechagodzilla also got vaporized by Spiral Ray Godzilla in 1993. also in a few shots. And mind you, this MG had already been damaged beforehand and doesn't have its diamond armor because that was melted off. SNS Godzilla did what the Spiral Ray did without any context to help. SNS Godzilla, I repeat, vaporizes Mechagodzilla just like the Red Spiral Ray did, but without any contextual help, just his own physical power and super atomic breath. The 93 Spiral Ray is the strongest ray attack in history before SNS Godzilla comes around, making it stronger than 91 MKG's attacks, which explicitly use warp energy, the same warp energy that is used for time travel, which, if you don't remember, time travel requires you to break out of a 5th to 6th dimensional universe, travel into another 5th to 6th dimensional universe, then repeat that just to be able to return back in time or go into the future. The Red Spiral Ray is also wielded by the strongest Godzilla of all history until then, making it stronger than Showa Godzilla, who can defeat 4th dimensional creatures that create 5D pockets of space and time. The same Godzilla who is Marvel Godzilla in his first run of comics, and even the run of comics that started in 2025, where he literally beats a fucking Celestial. These guys. Just to recap, we are in SNS Godzilla's second fight and like 20 minutes into the game, and this guy is already stronger than Universe Destroyers, he's already stronger than Marvel characters, and he's already the strongest kaiju that has ever existed up until that point in Toho's history. And he's even stronger than a lot of future kaiju. How strong can this guy possibly get after this? Just stay tuned and keep watching, my friend. You do not know the depths of this guy's strength. After finalizing the mecha, Godzilla fights Biollante. This Biollante had been created by aliens and was extremely glazed, constantly spraying antibacteria at Godzilla which absorb and nullify his powers, which by the way, those did nothing. Biollante is also stated to have outstanding attack power that can heavily injure Godzilla's durability, which again stands above his baseline atomic breath. Biollante's acid sap can also dissolve everything in her path, and most impressively, she is the most durable thing in the game below, well, him, but we'll get to him later. Godzilla at this point meets his match, and due to her durability and physical strength, he needs multiple altercations to wear her down and eventually defeat her. But this is a being who is explicitly more durable than Mechagodzilla, who takes less in-game damage from Godzilla than MG does, and even when using the superatomic breath, it still doesn't one-shot her, and Godzilla can still do damage to her. So this is once more proof that Godzilla is just massively more powerful than Mechagodzilla, and massively more powerful than every other kaiju in history until then, and even after that, with some, exceptions. So overall, for a base SNS Godzilla, he is just as powerful as 93 Spiral Ray Godzilla, maybe a bit weaker, maybe a bit stronger, but he is certainly stronger than all these kaiju here on screen, which makes him strong enough to destroy complex universes, kill higher dimensional beings, and break out of timelines into a hyper timeline through sheer brute power. After defeating Biollante and saving a doctor, Godzilla is fused with King Ghidorah's cells, DNA, and genes. This explicitly makes him more powerful, and given this is the same if not an even better process than what Rodan, yes his name is Rodan, underwent to buff Godzilla in 1993, then we can ascertain that the gap between Rodan and Ghidorah is the gap between base SNS Godzilla and cell-buffed Godzilla. After all, the way that 100-meter Heisei was born is by being irradiated with a 200 times stronger nuke, making him 200 times stronger. And mind you, G-cells fusing with foreign DNA is what made Biollante go from a rose to the strongest enemy in history, so this multiplier might even be a lowball. Given that SNS Godzilla is already at the level of the first Red Spiral Ray and Ghidorah is his equal, then Ghidorah is a Spiral Ray multiplier stronger than Rodan, which in turn would give SNS Godzilla, if not a partial Spiral Ray multiplier, then just a complete Spiral Ray multiplier on top of his own power, which is already equal to the Red Spiral Ray. To put that into simple numbers, SNES Godzilla gets tens of thousands to tens of millions of times stronger with a bunch of new hacks abilities. Given he's gained Ghidorah's DNA, Godzilla's now got a few new abilities from the King of Space. While he doesn't have Ghidorah's internal organs yet, he does have the guy's DNA, so he would gain things like Ghidorah's superior energy storage, his ability to absorb energy from his skin, as well as the electric, matter deconstructing, and gravity destroying properties of Ghidorah's DNA. If you're wondering why I've used a few Showa scans, it's mainly because SNES Ghidorah is probably the same species as Showa Ghidorah, because to begin with, Ghidorahs are a species and all Toho material is canon to each other, coupled with the fact that in other branches of the 1954 timeline, we see that there are other space Ghidorahs who share the same scaling. SNES Ghidorah's design implies that it is a Heisei variant of Ghidorah, who's literally just a clone of Showa Ghidorah, shares the same hacks and species, and has his own hacks on top of that, which are pretty much the exact same thing as Showa Ghidorah's own hacks.
Which anyways, the matter deconstruction and gravity manipulation are already part of SNES Ghidorah's powers anyways, so...
With a massive buff to his brute power, Godzilla goes on to fight Batra, whose entire advantage is literally just speed. This thing is literally the weakest kaiju in the game, which is consistent with what we've already established. We do get to see that Godzilla's super atomic breath is fast enough to blitz opponents who blitz Godzilla. After all, Batra can completely dodge any other attack, but gets completely blitzed by the super atomic breath. So that's just a lovely thing that we can see. Godzilla then goes from fighting the weakest kaiju in the game to fighting the strongest enemy in history, Mecha King Ghidorah, who's been enhanced by aliens and who dwarfs Godzilla in power. His greatest attack, this pincer thingy, is twice as powerful as any other attack, including the super atomic breath. And Ghidorah is so powerful that even just brute muscle strength is a threat to Godzilla. However, this gap is only a 2x gap, and Godzilla can still defeat Ghidorah through skill and leveraging his new fighting spirit and defensive force. Which, given MKG doesn't really give us new things for crossover scaling, and just as a stronger opponent that Godzilla can defeat, let's go over these fighting spirits and defensive force hacks. Defensive force is the simpler of the two. When blocking, Godzilla increases his durability and stops his opponent from using big attacks, while fighting spirit allows Godzilla to enhance his attack's power and draw on stronger attacks, regardless of how much stamina he has left. It's literally an inexhaustible source of stamina. Godzilla's lust for fighting is infinite, and thus his fighting spirit is so intense that it literally severely limits mind control and puts it on a time limit, which only resets when Godzilla fights something. And eventually Godzilla just breaks the mind control and fucks off. Through these two abilities and just simple battle skill, Godzilla defeats an opponent that is significantly stronger than he is, which is an amazing thing to show that even if you are stronger than Super Godzilla, you will be defeated unless you're like a billion times stronger. Or instead of using skill and hacks, Godzilla just becomes him and no diffs completely. Speaking of him, we come to the final battle. The aliens, seeing that all of their kaiju have been defeated, release Bagan, an ancient Chinese god beast who has been mutated with Godzilla and Ghidorah DNA to create the ultimate weapon, the last resort, the strongest and vilest and bulkiest monster in Toho history until then, and even until 1999. His weakest attack is as strong as Mecha King Ghidorah's vice grip. He can defeat Godzilla in just a few strikes, which usually defeating Godzilla takes entire minutes of constantly attacking him from beings that are 200,000 times stronger than he is, making Bagan a few million times stronger than Godzilla, or a few tens of millions of times stronger than Godzilla to be able to 3-shot him. This man is the heaviest Toho kaiju with his feet on the ground, and possibly the strongest enemy of Godzilla, and he is incomparably, unimaginably powerful. Only the Godzilla that surpasses the general character that is Godzilla can fight him. Only a character stronger than all previous Godzillas and all future Godzillas can so much as face him. Only someone with incomparable power can match the Chinese god beast. We need Super Godzilla to fight Bagan. Super Godzilla is the effect of giving a supermassive amount of energy to Godzilla, forcing his body to evolve and becoming incomparably more powerful than he once was. Stronger, faster, more durable, with a larger body that is better suited for fighting and for energy blasts. If you use him against MKG, he makes the mecha fodder. Mecha King Ghidorah cannot match, cannot rival, or even so much as compare himself to the heights of Super Godzilla's strength, and the same can be said for all previous Godzillas. Spiral Ray Godzilla is transcended, Marvel Godzilla is incomparably weaker, and Showa Godzilla is no. And mind you, the Super Godzilla in the Bagan fight might be incomparably more powerful than the Super Godzilla that fights MKJ, though that depends on whether you use the transformation against Mecha King Ghidorah or not. Regardless of that, the statements of Super Godzilla being the strongest continue. In 1999, only Super Godzilla can battle Bagan. In 2020, he is the strongest Godzilla, a Godzilla who surpasses the general character. In 2024, Super Godzilla is the strongest and is Godzilla's strongest power-up form. In 2025, he is the strongest monster in all history. Bagan and Godzilla clash, and after an arduous battle that saps all of Godzilla's super energy, the ancient Chinese god monster is slain and Godzilla walks away to the sunset. Godzilla being an incomparably more powerful version of himself and being the strongest power-up form in history and only accessible by boosting him with supermassive amounts of energy means that Super Godzilla is the greatest multiplier available for Godzilla, meaning that when Godzilla becomes Super Godzilla, he is getting a Spiral Ray multiplier and more stronger than he once was. To put this into perspective, even if you cube the Spiral Ray Godzilla's power, Spiral Ray multiplied by Spiral Ray multiplied by Spiral Ray, he would still be completely inferior to Super Godzilla and would get no diff.
On top of this, the aliens enhanced King Ghidorah so much that as MKJ, he is twice as strong as SNS Godzilla with the Cells buff. The Cells buff we've already established is going to be pretty much the same as the Spiral Ray multiplier, which is to say that aliens with their technology can buff Kaiju by 2 times the Spiral Ray multiplier, that is 60 million times base at the most, and Super Godzilla is incomparably better than that. Mind you, the actual ultimate resort of the aliens is simply combining a Kaiju with Ghidorah and Godzilla DNA and then buffing that up with energy, which is literally exactly the same thing as Super Godzilla. So Super Godzilla would be 60 million times stronger than a Godzilla who is already a Spiral Ray stronger than Spiral Ray Godzilla. The multipliers are fucking insane. We're looking at literally cosmic numbers that would fill up entire papers. This is how strong Super Godzilla is.
For context, Space Godzilla is 24 billion times stronger than Super Mecha Godzilla. And that is amazing, that is an insane power gap, and let Space Godzilla defeat Godzilla in under a minute as opposed to 6 minutes, with far less attacks. Super Godzilla is 1.8 quadrillion times faster than SMG. And no, Space Godzilla does not get 7 bajillion times stronger across the events of 94. That's based on the assumption that he and 94 Heisei were absorbing each other's energy in a tug-of-war-esque competition, but in truth, this only happens twice, meaning Space Godzilla got 1 exponential energy boost, and in the final battle he directly did not get too much stronger because Mogeta was around until the end and didn't get vaporized, even while Space G and Heisei apparently got quadrillions of times stronger. Super Godzilla, by virtue of being trillions of times stronger than Space Godzilla, would benefit from that guy's scaling. The Space Demon was born by traveling through a black hole, which we have already established has the power to facilitate breaking out of a 5 to 6D timeline, traveling to another parallel universe and repeating the same process again. Space Godzilla on top of that transcends physics and uses the inverse higher dimensional supergravity on top of absorbing and controlling infinite cosmic energy. Overall, Super Godzilla is incomparably more powerful than Spiral Ray Godzilla, than 94 Godzilla, and then Space Godzilla. His only possible competition is 94 Heisei at the end of the film when he supercharges himself with Space Godzilla's accumulated cosmic energies. But given Super G is faster, definitely more powerful, and significantly more hacks, he's taking that dub. Speaking of hacks, remember when I said that SNS Godzilla wouldn't get Ghidorah's organ-based hacks? Yeah, now he does. Not only has he physically evolved, developing a larger size and entirely new organs, Super Godzilla has also evolved in the exact same way that historically has allowed Godzilla types to integrate foreign DNA into their organs and powers. To put that into perspective, Biollante had plant DNA but couldn't shoot acidic tree sap until she absorbed Godzilla's atomic breath. Space Godzilla fused with crystal life forms and didn't have crystal powers until he evolved by absorbing supernovas. So Super Godzilla would have all of Ghidorah's organs and thus their hacks, which lo and behold we do see similarities between his visual abilities and King Ghidorah's own hacks and abilities. Super Godzilla has electricity whenever he's charging up an ability. He has yellow tinges in his atomic breath. He has 3 energy projecting organs. He can float with his super punch, which is similar to how Ghidorah flies by floating with anti-gravity. And with all of this evidence, Godzilla would have the following hacks for combat. Poisonous scales, a rust liquid that immediately erodes any blade trying to cut his neck. A numbing paralysis liquid he injects with every bite. Spikes in his tail which make anyone go crazy on contact. The ability to breathe madness and paralysis gas. Claws that exude dangerous radioactivity. A radar on his horn. Plasma being added to his energy attacks. X-ray vision, night vision, infrared vision. Even more brains that improve his ability to think and plan for attacks. And finally, he would gain skin body parts that can absorb cosmic energy, which perhaps has been used to upgrade Godzilla's skin, which already could absorb energy. Or maybe that's what the shoulder spikes are for. Regardless, Godzilla resists all of these hacks, given Ghidorah himself can resist his own attacks, and the fact that, Godzilla fought a Ghidorah specimen and wasn't cooked by the madness spikes or the radioactivity spikes or whatever else. Godzilla also could have the ability to transform himself into fire like Ghidorah can. Maybe, and given we are already into theoretical territory, this Ghidorah may be the same variant as the Heisei one, which, if we took that idea, it would give Godzilla even more hacks and abilities. The plasma in his beam would be quark glow-on plasma that's basically the rawest stuff of creation that is in the trillions of degrees of heat and composed of the smallest subatomic quantum particles. And Godzilla would also have black holes in his cells which could allow him to spend years of function without needing food, as well as an internal organ which controls gravity and allows him to float, as well as energy reflecting skin. Whew. This is a weird for a Devon Explains entry. Usually we never have so much to talk about, and you're probably lost, and so am I. One thing that I forgot to mention is the fact that Super Godzilla doesn't really have a super atomic breath equivalent. His baseline atomic breath is just better than the past ones. Therefore, it should share the same level of speed as the superatomic breath, if not be even faster. What that means is that even if you are significantly faster than Super Godzilla, capable of just dodging everything he throws at you, his atomic breath is just gonna blitz the fuck out of you. Also, Godzilla's atomic breath is orange, which, the other orange atomic breath is the burning heat ray from base Burning Godzilla, who, stronger than every other Godzilla, and, this guy is using his same atomic breath. Yeah. It doesn't mean what I'm implying it does, but, I wish it did. Super Godzilla is also like 130 meters tall, which is pretty fucking cool. Overall, Super Godzilla has the equivalent power to destroy an entire Toho universe, as well as breaking out of an individual Toho timeline to reach out into the greater G54 hyper timeline. A hyper timeline is basically a bigger stream of time that contains multiple timelines inside of it, which, given that a vast majority of Toho movies simply branch off from the 1954 movie, that would make all of these timelines the G54 hyper timeline. A single Toho universe has 4 spatial dimensions, 1 temporal dimension, as well as multiple 5D realms inside it, as well as a planet which transcends the 5th dimensional spacetime of the universe, making that planet 6-dimensional. The many black holes in these infinite universes would have 6 to 7 dimensional power, given they can break out of the space-time and reach out into the hyper timeline. Overall, the universe in totality would be infinite 6-dimensional with multiple 7th-dimensional structures inside of it. Super Godzilla is decillions of times stronger than this, and quadrillions of times stronger than a creature who wields the even higher dimensional supergravity, which means Super Godzilla's power and durability range from 6th to 7th and even to 8th dimensional power. In terms of speed, Super Godzilla is as much of a speed amp as he is a strength amp, so he's massively faster than any previous Godzilla, and he's also faster than Space Godzilla. With Godzilla 91 being able to perceive and react to Mecha King Ghidorah as he's in the middle of time travel, and with kaiju like Mothra Leo being able to travel back in time by traveling at the speed of light, making all light speed attacks at least that fast too. Then we also have Space Godzilla being 3 times faster than the speed of light, with his crystals being a lot faster than he is, and Heisei being able to react to these crystals and perceive them as slow. All of these things are immeasurable speed, from Mecha King Ghidorah traveling between timelines to lightspeed objects being able to travel backwards in time, and hell, kaiju being able to destroy the entire universe would also mean that they are reaching and destroying their version of Monster Planet, which exists beyond the usual spacetime of the observable universe, but is still part of the greater universe. So Super Godzilla is massively faster than immeasurable speed, or at least massively faster than infinite speed, given many kaiju can travel across the entire infinite universe and destroy it. Being a Heisei Godzilla, Super Godzilla also has a causality, meaning you can't kill him by doing a baby Hitler. Super Godzilla would also have massive evolutionary abilities, energy absorption, passive and active power growth, adaptation, immunity to energy absorption and power negation, and many more hacks and resistances. Super Godzilla is one of the strongest beings in absolutely all of Toho media, with very few superiors, and possibly none at all with his many strongest statements. Personally, one of the few kaiju who could defeat him are Burning Godzilla, Adult Jr., and Destroy.
Something kills my life! And I